Hello? Hello! Hey! Good morning! Microphone was off as per usual. But good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ice Cream Uploads here on twitch.tv. Again, / Ice Cream Uploads. We're live at 10:47, which is probably the earliest that we've been live in probably 18 months. But yeah, it's just me today. Obviously, Graham has got today off. It is just me running through the news today. I hope that you are having a fantastic Friday so far. It's a lot cooler today. It says that it's only 23 degrees in Manchester when it's been running between 25 and 29 for the last couple of days. The fan is actually blowing cold air rather than warm air around the room, which is also quite nice. So it's nice and coolish in this room today. So hopefully we won't be having any meltingness. Craig says, morning sweetness, and Madge is here nice and early as well, saying morning. Good morning, Shaggers. I hope that you are doing fantastic. We've got the dollop with Bibby. Yes, it's just me today. Graham is off. He's probably been partying too hard last night after hearing some of the announcements that came at EA Play, which we will go through today, as well as Football Manager finally getting some women's football inside the game, as well as PlayStation 5 owners can now get 6 free months of Apple TV. Yes, that's right. Not only have we got Free Game Friday, we've now got Free Trial Friday. Obviously, coming into the scoop today, we've got some Epic Game Store news coming your way about what's coming live within the next week. But yes, this is the scoop, your daily dose of video games news, coming at you live from Manchester here on twitch.tv / Ice Cream Uploads. We go live each and every single weekday, Monday to Friday, again at 10 a.m. ish. We also go live on all of our podcast or our video on demand services, which include YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Play, Spotify and iTunes, usually around about an hour or so after we've gone live. But because it is a live podcast, we want you guys to be, if you are in the chat, let us know that you are in there. We will be getting onto some discussions, but we want your thoughts and opinions on top of our thoughts and opinions so that we can have this nice discussion. But the people over on the demand service, obviously they don't get that luxury. They can pause, rewind, they can do whatever they want to do. They can skip it if they don't think that this is for them. But you guys, obviously live, you can just stick around. You are absolute legends. Brumietsa says morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I hope that you have a fantastic day so far. Last night was probably the best night of sleep that I've had in, probably, how long have we had this sun for now? It feels like it's been going on for like 2 or 3 weeks. But it started to ramp up, obviously, on Thursday. I probably had the best night of sleep last night. It was quite a chill night. It was rain all over Manchester, but it didn't quite reach the Hyde region. So it's still super dry. It's still super hot. It's just a little bit breezy this morning, which is nice. Help Bibby to shave our show. Yeah, of course. Shave our show, or the Loot Droop. But yeah, I hope you are having a fantastic morning. We did go live last night with EA Play. We had our live reactions. Obviously, that couldn't go up onto the YouTube or podcast services because EA Play is all about the music, baby. And obviously, that will give us a DMCA strike at some point, or the copyright claims. The video won't be able to get put out. It's just a mess without any super editing to be done afterwards. But yeah, apart from that, it was a very, very good show. It's probably the best show we've watched in a while. Probably the best show since E3 Xbox Bethesda. That was the best show of E3 by a landslide. So last night was a nice little slide into an 8 out of 10. Next Gen Base says good show. That was double jab this morning as well. So I'm waiting the side effects to cripple me, mate. My second jab was fine. The first one would give me a dead arm for a couple of days. The second one, it's as if nothing happened. So hopefully you'll get the same as well. The first one, it didn't wipe me out or anything like that. I took a few paracetamol, took ibuprofens and all that shit. I just had a dead arm for a couple of days. The second one, it's as if nothing even happened. It was fine. Like there was nothing. I was obviously one of the lucky ones. But yeah, hopefully it'll be fine for you. Hopefully everything will go to plan. But again, you are here to watch me and listen to me about some video games. I've got some water, so this is probably going to get chugged halfway through. I've got a dry mouth. I don't think anyone's had. Like, I'll tell you how dehydrated I've been, and I used this as a nice little example yesterday, right? I probably drank around 9 or 10 pints of water a day so far. Like that, I drink lemonade. Fucking hell, I drink like Vimto and stuff like that, and I go through them like they're going out of fashion. But I've been drinking actual water, like 9 or 10 pints a day, probably even more because it's been so warm. and my piss by the end of the day is still orange. That's how dehydrated. That's how much I've been sweating. That's how warm it's been. That's how much my body is just exhuming heat all over the place. We're just not retaining that water. So please, if you are still around your house and it's still warm, try and get as much water as you can. You're going to need it. You are still going to need it. But yeah, I think after all the piss talk and stuff like that, I think it's probably time that we jump into some video game news. How's about that? Yeah, let's do that. Let me bring this up on screen, and then if I press this button, hopefully the news will pop up. Who knows? And it does. Fantastic. All right, so this has been written by Wesley Impool over on Eurogamer, and it states that everything announced during EA Play Live 2021, Dead Space, Grid Legends, Battlefield Portal, and more. I'm just going to take another quick swig, so bear with me a second. Anyone got any hold music? Morning, Shagger. How's it going, Gary? EA Play Live 2021 has wrapped up. Here's everything announced during this show. Codemasters' fresh release from F1 2021 announced Grid Legends for 2022. The hook here is a live-action story mode starring such actors as Nuki Gatwa. Is that it? Is that right? From Sex Education? Command & Conquer Meets Racing. The debut trailer is below. Obviously, we can't play these trailers because these are the ones that tend to have a lot of copyright music in there, so I can play the trailers, we just can't hear them. So I'm just going to skip forward. This was fantastic. I thought this was one of the best games to come out with it. The FMV has been such a letdown in the past, but this looks cool. So you're actually having live actors perform. Farian Drake with the raid. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate it. How are you doing? Hope you had a good day so far. It's probably 2 o'clock in the morning.
Best friends.
Yep. Welcome, Wasm the Great. Thank you very much for the follow. We very much appreciate it. But yeah, thank you very much for that. I fell asleep mid-EA play from the heat. 3 a.m. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you need to get your head down, mate. Wasm, thank you very much. He says, hey, thank you. Shout out to Farian Drake. Thank you, Madge. Thank you, Madge. That's a mod right there. That is what you mods do. Appreciate that, mate. But yeah, moving back into this, we haven't seen an FMV, or I haven't seen FMVs be done this good in video games for a while. Obviously, we had things like Night Trap way back when. But this, having a video game then going into a full FMV, using real actors, good actors at that, this is dynamite. This is absolute dynamite. See if Tharion, God's Foundry. Yep, okay, thank you very much. Next up, pause that. Next up, we have a release for Lost in Random, the Gothic fairy tale inspired action adventure from Swedish game studio Zonk. It's due out on the 10th of September, and the gameplay trailer is below. Again, I'll be able to play this without the sound for copyright reasons. I'm going to skip forward. So this is an action platformer, right? It looks good. It doesn't look amazing. I don't know whether or not it's I love the art style. But I think we was having the discussion last night. Is this a linear game, or sorry, I was burping. Or is the fact that you can play this game as many times and the dice rolls are different? Like, what happens if you're meant to get a 6 or a 4 and you end up getting a 3 or a 5? Like, what happens to the game then? Does it completely change? Does the environments change? Can you not get past that part again? Like, how does this work? So I'm very interested to see more of this. I love the art style. I love a good platform. I think we mentioned last night that the platforming resurgence is full steam ahead. So it's nice to be getting decent looking games like this. So yeah, I think I'll keep an open mind with this one. Next Gen Base says that the Need for Speed FMV was a bit weird. And Madge says Grid was a game filled with stuff, so Grid Legends looks even better. I absolutely agree. Valiant Studios announced Knockout City Season 2, which contains a map of ever-changing movie-inspired arenas called the Hollywood Drive-In. A new ball, new playlist, gear, and rewards. Fight the Movies launched on the 27th of July, which I think is Tuesday. So that should go live on Tuesday for you. We don't really need to look at the trailer for that because it's Knockout City. It's just in different arenas. Which Knockout City is a fantastic game, don't get me wrong. We don't need to see the trailer of it though because we know what it is. We know where it's going to be played, which is cool. We've got a bunch of Apex Legends news as expected, as Apex Legends Emergence is the next major update for the Battle Royale, and it launches on the 3rd of August. The trailer below provides a look at the new character, Say. So we have a quick look at this. No, it isn't Titan form. Next gen base, unlucky. But yeah, this is the new character that's going to be in Apex Legends. It just seems to be going from strength to strength at this moment in time. The game is unbelievably popular. I think Xavier Woods mentioned yesterday that it's got 100 million people who have played it so far, which is an enormous amount, especially because it's a free-to-play game. It doesn't cost you anything to be able to get into it and try it out for the first time. That's a massive plus. So people have either loved it or hate it. The Titanfall fans clearly love it, and they haven't been clamouring for a new Titanfall. They've just been too busy playing Apex Legends and what it is that they've been giving them. We haven't mentioned anything about Titanfall 3. No one's mentioned anything about Titanfall 3. So it's probably just a dead game at this point. Takes a sip of his water in between. Lost in Random definitely looks unique, says Madge. Next gen base with a crying face. Although Respawn are advertising for single player developers in a unique universe, hype train. Well, I've got my fingers and toes crossed for you, mate. Also, a small matter of a new game coming from EA of a long-standing series, which is EA unveiled Battlefield Portal, which leaked earlier today. Martin has a deeper dive into this eye-catching mode for Battlefield 2042, which lets you mash up parts of 1942, Battlefield Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3 in custom maps, and the trailer is below. I'm gonna run this right. I'm gonna skip forward because if anyone actually watched this trailer, and if you haven't, I absolutely think that you should go to YouTube after the scoop's finished and watch this trailer in full, because you will have to watch it numerous times to be able to get everything what they have shown. This looks absolutely crazy. Like, this is the very best of Battlefield, giving the community the options to be able to create their own game modes in custom games. The amount of content that people will be able to create off of this, whether or not it's on a stream, whether or not it's for YouTube videos, but having defibs versus knives, crazy. Like, this is so unique. They're bringing a knife to a gunfight or a defib fight. Like, this is mental. But I absolutely encourage you, after the scoop's finished, to go over and have a look at this trailer and just see everything that's been put through there. They've given some of the most high-profile streamers the ability to be able to create their own maps and stuff like that and put it into the game for you to be able to have a look at what it is that you could be able to do. So at one point, I think there was one tank versus 20 droids. Which obviously, this is it now. You'll be able to see it on your screen. Well, the droids was coming through then, but yeah, it was one tank versus 20 droids. Like, stuff like that is crazy. So yeah, I definitely keep your eye on this. If this is the first Battlefield game that you're going to be playing that you played for a while, definitely keep your eyes out for this, because it will be a content creator's dream if you are a Battlefield player. And the big one, the one that we've been waiting the longest for. We're not talking about. I'm going to press mute on that. We're going to run the trailer for Dead Space. The big announcement was confirmation of the worst kept secret in gaming, that Dead Space remake it's by Star Wars Squadron's developer EA Motive, and it's due out on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. That's right, it's a next-gen only experience. There is no release window, and the teaser trailer is below. So we've got two lurkers, Madge and Vern. Thank you very much. Ads plays here as well. Good morning, Shagger. So then, this for me, and I think we all agreed across the board yesterday that this was an 8 out of 10 show. Like, to be an absolute perfect show would be something like the Bethesda Xbox announcement, where they're hitting you in like a 45-minute segment with about 40 games. And then most of them obviously was on Game Pass as well, which most of us end up having. So you're able to try them for quote-unquote free, or shall we say air quotes. This is probably the biggest announcement for me personally as a survival horror fan that's come out of EA Play yesterday. Obviously, I did like the look of Battlefield. I loved the look of Grid Legends. I felt that looked amazing. Lost in Random looks a game that I probably might play. I'm not too excited for Apex Legends. I don't really play it. I think I've played it a handful of times, and Knockout City is obviously something that we stream on this channel or have done previously. So for me, this is an easy 8 out of 10 purely for the Dead Space and the Battlefield 2042 and Grid. Those three games are games that would instantly be in my collection. The other two, well, the other three, shall we say, not so much, and yes, I would definitely play them. So this for me, easy 8 out of 10. Dead Space, I hope it takes note of what Capcom have been doing over there with the Resident Evil franchise over the last couple of years, with the likes of the remakes, with the likes of Resident Evil 7 going in first person, obviously, and Resident Evil 8 Village being in first person. Take massive inspiration of the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 3, because they definitely have been looking over the fence at what they've been doing and going, do you know what? They've brought two of the biggest games that Capcom have produced and from the most fan-loved games, and they've given a fresh look of paint. They are absolutely going to be doing the same with this and taking stuff from Dead Space 2 and 3, which made them games a little bit more unique in the way that the game performs. The power-ups, obviously the bodysuit, the upgrades that you can have. All of those things that was in 2 and 3 that not necessarily wasn't in 1 or just wasn't as good as there was in further games. All of that inspirational stuff from those games are going to be coming into this now. So if there's a game that I was going to tell you to look out for over the next 18 months, it 110% will be Dead Space. I think this will not revolutionize the survival horror genre, but I think it will be a much needed ally to the likes of Resident Evil. In the survival horror world, we've been blessed, and we've been what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to think of the word. We've been spoilt with what we've got with Resident Evil 2 and 3. A lot of people will obviously hate on Resident Evil 3, the remake, because it was missing some massive things out, and I agree. Some of the criticisms is warranted. But as a game, it was more than playable. It was a very, very good game, and it's good to see Jill Valentine back in the game again. Dead Space is definitely up there with not necessarily survival horror, because it's a lot more action focused, but it definitely has that psychological horror element to it. Like the flickering lights, the very small corridors, the eeriness and the sounds are atmospheric. And that's what I like in my horror games. So it doesn't necessarily matter that it's not absolutely down to its very core survival horror game. I think it will do extremely well, and I'm definitely excited to be able to play this. But you guys, you've heard me waffle on for a long time. I will read your comments out. What do you think of the show, if you could give it a score out of 10? And what is the biggest game that you think has come out of this? As maybe a content creator, that's in the chat. Maybe as someone who just wants a single player experience to go through. What is your biggest dub coming out of this then? Obviously we had the pre-show as well, which they announced that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was going to be a hero card for FUT. Also a load of Madden stuff. There was another I think it was showing some of the stuff that was coming to F1 as well. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff in there last night. A lot of good stuff, and it was an easy 8 out of 10 for me. Gary agrees it was definitely an 8 out of 10 for him as well. Biggest dub dice game. Oh, do you mean for Battlefield? Oh, I forgot that Battlefield Portal, which was incredible as well. Grid Legends and Dead Space were the standouts for Gary. But yeah, it's a much needed thing. I mean, I'd love every single publishing company to be able to come out and do one of these once a month, but I think that's asking far too much. Once a quarter, is that asking too much, especially with the way that video games are being made nowadays? They need probably a lot more time than be able to knock out games left, right and centre. Do they want to showcase it that frequently? I think twice a year is probably a good thing. Just to be able to give us a glimpse behind the curtain. Like Xavier Woods yesterday, I don't want to say he carried the show, because it wasn't a dead show, but he definitely made the show more enjoyable with the way that he presents stuff. So if you can inject that kind of life into a live show, I think more people will pay attention. I'm definitely looking at Koch for their snooze fest for 2 hours. I genuinely can't believe that we didn't back out of that and just go, do you know what, this isn't for us. I think we're just waiting eagerly for something to come forward and just try and bring some spark into the show. But having Xavier Woods there yesterday, being able to give the show and inject so much life into it, just made it so much more of a better show. Definitely have someone with his charisma, or him again, to be able to perform on a stage like that and just inject a lot more life into things. It will make it so much more enjoyable, and more people will take notice, more people will tune in. Fantastic stuff. Gary says, Ads is talking more about that random game with the dice. Oh, the dub dice game, right, sorry. Duh. Lost in random. I think Ben's still recovering from the Koch show. I think it's just about getting his sleep pattern back. fucking hell, mouth is so dry. I don't know how Graham talks this much. It doesn't do much for me. Moving swiftly on then anyway. Okay, we'll leave these two till last. I was trying to work out in my head what I wanted to move on to next, but I'll move on to this because we'll leave the free stuff till last. How's about that? But we've got one more news article from Eurogamer. This is a biggie. This is an absolute biggie. This is something that we we talked about. We tried to throw it out into the ether. Was it yesterday during EA Live, or was it before on the Scoop? I can't remember. Anyway, we'll move on to it. Written by Wesley Poole again over at Eurogamer. Football Manager finally getting women's football. This is the right thing to do. I think this is actually something that we talked about in EA Play. Or it might have been during the warm-up stuff. Ben, you might be able to weigh in on this one. Well, Football Manager is getting a women's football in the future, developer Sports Interactive has announced. This is not via a separate standalone Football Manager game, rather it's via compatible integration into the mainline Football Manager. The addition of women's football won't make it into FM22, Sports Interactive boss Miles Jacobson told Eurogamer in an interview today. But women's football is coming and could be added to FM post-launch in the middle of its year-long cycle. In a blog post, Jacobson says that it's adding women's football to Football Manager will cost millions of pounds in terms of development, investment, and the short-term return of that investment will be minimal. But Jacobson says it's the right thing to do. Sports Interactive started building a database of women's football just a few months ago, but the plan is for eventually rival the men's football database it has created over the course of nearly 3 decades. Football Manager currently uses around 1,200 researchers worldwide who view matches week in, week out in a bid to help keep the men's database as authentic as possible. Sports Interactive wants to match that authenticity in women's football. To that end, qualified coach and former head of research to analysis, Smart Dose, Tina Keach, has been drafted into head of women's research at Sports Interactive to spearhead the mammoth task ahead. In a couple of months, I've done pretty well, Keach told Eurogamer. I'm pretty proud of myself, but now we're going into full steam ahead, and I'll be able to help to get some help, and we'll create a good one. Keach told Eurogamer the significance of Sports Interactive's commitment to women's football, which also involves some commercial partnerships agreements of the 2021-2022 season with Leicester City women, is massive. I've played football my whole life. I've watched it. I've coached it. I've been in the game, and I'm a fan. I've got 2 young girls who love playing football. This is a massive for the game, Keach said. There is a glass ceiling which shouldn't be there, and as part of smashing down, I feel incredibly proud to be part of this, to be doing this. It should have happened earlier. These bigger companies should have come in earlier, but they're there now. It's a massive statement, and hopefully others will go and do the right thing to give women's football the respect and attention that it deserves. I can only see good things coming from this. Jacobson told Eurogamer that women's football is added to Football Manager. It will come in a form of leagues that will work in the same way of which the current game. That is, you can select which leagues you're playing your game in, keeping the game manageable. You'll also be able to sign coaches from a women's team to coach in a men's team and vice versa. However, there is an ongoing debate of whether the studio and how the attributes of women players will work. While Football Manager's existing 1 to 20 attribute scale will remain for women, Jacobson said the developers are looking at certain attributes where the gap might be a little bit more wide between the men and women to see how they may affect the gameplay. However, Keach stressed that no decision on attributes has been made and there is a different point of view to the debate internally. To be honest, it's a difficult one. It really is, Keach said. We haven't agreed on anything. There are lots of different points of view. We obviously have got to test it as well to make sure that the game is accurate and represents women football properly. There is no agreement on anything just yet. Unfortunately, Sports Interactive has received some negative comments on social media following the announcement. Preempting this reaction, Jacobson told Eurogamer that he has a stark message for these, in quotes, fans. To be really clear to people, consumer choice. If you don't like the decision we're making around the game, don't buy it. If you think that adding women's football would degenerate your experience, well, I'm sorry. I hope you find another experience somewhere else that you can enjoy. We believe strongly that this is the right thing to do. Sports Interactive has secured a number of official licenses related to real football leagues in Football Manager's game. Does it plan to secure the official licenses in Women's Football League for when women's football launches in game? Jacobson kept his cards close to his chest when asked, but it sounds like they're ongoing behind closed doors. We'd love to have as many licenses as we possibly can to hold across the world of football, whether it means men's football or women's football, he said. So yes, those conversations will definitely be happening, and there is probably been some conversations happening already in the background. It makes it a lot easier to have those conversations now. We'll be going for as many licenses as we can in a non-exclusive way, which is important, because if we want other people to come in on this journey, we want other game space, which we absolutely do. By doing non-exclusive licenses, it means that no one gets shut out. Sports Interactive announcement added the addition of women's football to Football Manager comes as a hot on the heels of EA Sports announcement that Alex Scott is set to become the first female broadcast voice in FIFA as a co-commentator in 2022. And that's FIFA, by the way. So, ladies and gentlemen, thoughts on this? I have some, and I'm about to tell you now when I move into the next. I'm going to take a swipping drink first. 1 second. All right, let's get my mug on the screen again. So, it looks like we are going to be getting women's football in Football Manager. We've already had women's football in FIFA. It's something that, I'm trying to rack my brain as to when we had the discussion yesterday. I don't know whether it was on the scoop or it was during EA Play yesterday. But men aren't the only people that play football games. Let's get this right. There is a lot. In fact, there's a lot of female streamers that play FIFA. So why would they not have women's football in the game, considering there is a massive market for it? Obviously, the women's market is nowhere near as strong as the men's, and the quotes in this obviously allude to that. Obviously, with the likes of the attributes of 1 to 20, does that match the men's game? I don't know. That's a problem for them to be able to do. But they know that they're probably not going to get the return on investment on this. It will cost them millions of pounds to have the scouts go and look at all the women's football games and be able to come back and give reports that will keep the game going. Like, football coaches nowadays use Football Manager as their database to go out and scout players. It's been there for the longest time. When you look at Sky Sports and they're looking at new players that are going to be coming to sign for your club, they will pick the closest player from your club and compare them with the player that's going to be coming in, and then use the stats from Football Manager to work that out. It could be age, it could be position, it could be tackling, it could be finishing. All of those attributes are used from Football Manager. This database is the biggest database for football managers, coaches, scouts that there has ever been, and it is so accurate that it would make sense to be able to use that and utilize it. But the amount of money that will be going into this to try and bring women's football alongside the men's, they will never get that return on investment. But it doesn't mean that it's not the thing to do. Like, women's football is, I watch it, I don't particularly put a reminder on my phone to be able to sit down and watch it. If it's on TV, I will watch it. That's not a problem. My granddad watches women's football all the time. Anything to do with Manchester City, my granddad's watching it. Under 21s, under 18s, women's football, under 23s, whatever it is, my granddad's watching it, and he enjoys it. He'll never play Football Manager, so it wouldn't be anything to do with him. He'd never play FIFA to be able to have it as well. But FIFA has had women's football in there for the longest time. It doesn't have a league format. It just has international tournaments. Is that something that they hope to build on in the future? Are they going to have the Women's Premier League? Are they going to have the Women's Champions League? Is all that stuff going to be coming in? Because at the end of the day, it isn't just the men's game. It's for women as well. Whether or not you like that, it's tough shit. Like, women play football, women play golf, women play American football, women play rugby. Why wouldn't they have the opportunity to have their favourite team that they'll go and watch every single week in a game? It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't think that should be in there. But again, representation matters for everyone. So why would they not include that in there? I think it's going to be a massive loss for them, and they've already hinted at that. If they can absorb that loss, that's fantastic. Whether or not it's going to be something that's long-standing, I don't know. If this is going to be put into the game next year, say, I don't know, the game will probably come out in October, November. If this is injected into the game by June, they'll give it probably 18 months to see how many people actually buy it or download it. If the amount of people who buy it is under what they need, I can't see it lasting. But it's nice to have that in from the start and then see how many people actually want it. It's the right thing to do. I don't know how long they can absorb that cost for without it being a problem to them, because they're not going to put everything in jeopardy, if it's costing them millions to be able to put in. It's not going to put the company, they're not going to do it to keep the company in jeopardy, because then everybody loses. But at least they've put the step in the right direction to get this on the radar. And the fact that they only want the open-ended licenses, so that if Championship Manager was to ever come back, rather than just being a mobile game, they have the opportunity to be able to do that as well. So it's not just going to be Football Manager that has the option to be able to do it. So that's my thoughts and opinions. Let's jump into the chat to see what you guys think. Gary says, this is cool to see. I think we'll be able to play FM on the go with Steam Deck. I mean, you can do it already with the Nintendo Switch, albeit it's very, very good on the Nintendo Switch. I don't like the Xbox version. The Xbox version doesn't play like the Nintendo Switch version, which blew my mind because the controller is exactly the same. I've got so used to playing Football Manager on the Switch, that is second nature to me now, and I tried to do the same thing on the console, and it doesn't work anywhere as well as it does on the Nintendo Switch. I don't use the touch screen on the Nintendo Switch to move my players around. I don't do that. I use the controllers, and I use the triggers and things like that and the buttons to be able to do it. I don't know why that wasn't moved over to the Xbox Live, because the system works extremely well. But yeah, it's very, very good on the Nintendo Switch. I'd definitely recommend playing it on that. Ad says GG Football Manager. Magic says, I'm back, non-exclusive license, awesome news. Exactly. It's not. They're not future-proofing themselves in terms of they'll never be able to lose a license. They want other people to pick it up. And maybe that's their plan all along. They're going to invest millions into it, knowing that maybe in the next couple of years it may not be profitable for them to be able to do that. So that the hope that they're doing it and they are the biggest Football Manager game. I don't mean the name Football Manager, but they are the biggest football managing video game that there is out there, that others will be able to do the same. Whether or not it's a brand new indie studio that wants to make a Football Manager game specifically for the women's game, they have the opportunity to be able to do that, which is fantastic. Was it Joe, an EA player? Says, yeah, I said I couldn't rack my brain as to when we was talking about it, but we definitely had the conversation yesterday. Hopefully they'll get everything together for that ultimate realism. And Gary says, women's football is really good. Watch the Arsenal women a lot, and I've seen them live at Barnet before. It's entertaining stuff and should be celebrated. Exactly. But like you say, it's all about... There is obviously a lot of women, a lot of females, a lot of girls that play these football games, and they now have the opportunity to, because they'll probably follow the women's football team just as much as they do the men's, and now they'll be able to have the experience that we've had with the men's game for so long. Like, you can rhyme off. If I was to ask most of you guys in the chat, you'd probably be able to rhyme off 400 players from the top of your head, past, present, and future. So that will be the same with the women's game. It's just that they haven't had the opportunity to be able to do that in video game format, apart from international tournaments on FIFA, which has been there for the last 4 years, and they haven't seemed to take the next step in having a career mode with all these players in there as well. So maybe that's the way forward for them. But there is a massive demographic of people who want that in the game, but they haven't had the opportunity to be able to have that so far. There was a video doing the rounds the other day of a wonderful team, goal in women's football, stunning stuff. I mean, the City women's team are a fantastic team. They seem to be very much like the men's game. We seem to be getting the best players. But I mean, the Chelsea women's team are unbelievable. They seem to be mop up every single year. So there is quality. I mean, if I'm speaking as a football purist, regardless of what I go, I know the women's game isn't as fast paced. It isn't as I mean, the tackles are brutal. Like, the men's game don't go in for the tackles that the women's do, but it is a lot slower. I mean, the keepers are obviously a lot smaller as well. So that just, people will talk shit about it all the time, but it's still an entertaining game to watch. It's not as if you're watching fucking the under-11s of Ducky Youth versus AFC Styler. The quality is still there. It's just, for me, it's not as fast as the men's game. Whether or not you want the slower football or not, that's the difference in my opinion. But it's still a massively entertaining game to watch. So why wouldn't you have the opportunity to be able to have that in the game as well? Because trying to take your FM avatar, succeed in the men's game, and then try your hand at managing the women's football. Arsenal women's used to be incredible. They're still decent, but not like they used to be. Right, so it looks like everyone's having their opinion on that one, which is fantastic. It's unanimous against the board that this is a good thing for football in general. What more can you ask for? Anyway, we've got a new feature this week. We always have Free Game Friday. That is here. Do not worry, that will be the last news article of the day. But Free Trial Friday, anyone? Has anyone got a PlayStation 5? Does anyone own a PlayStation 5? Does anyone own Apple TV? Has anyone got a subscription service? Well, if you have a PlayStation 5, by God, you are going to be getting an absolute steal. Ladies and gentlemen, PlayStation 5 owners can now get 6 months of Apple TV, written by Josh Coulson over at The Gamer. You can now get Apple TV Plus. I don't know why the Plus is there. That makes no sense. But anyway, absolutely free for 6 months if you own a PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5 owners can now get 6 free months of Apple TV. The offer is even open to those who are already subscribed to the service. Odds are most of you reading this already have more subscription services than you can keep track of. Netflix is effectively the core of that. Pretty much everyone I know at this point, whether or not you pay for it yourself or you're still signed into your ex's account. That core can be surrounded by what feels like an endless number of options. Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, HBO Max, they're all there. They've all have something to offer, and of course, they all cost money. The sheer number of options is just as much of a headache as the companies themselves, as it is for those considering whether or not to throw money at them. They all have to find ways to lure us in, and in most cases, luring us in is done through free trials. Apple TV Plus has just hit us with a pretty major one. If you want a PlayStation 5, you can now get 6 months of Apple TV absolutely free. Well, not just a PlayStation 5, you also need an Apple ID and a PlayStation Network account. Odds are, if you own a PlayStation 5, you almost definitely have a PlayStation Network account and probably have a PlayStation ID too. It's only available to PlayStation owners and though cannot be redeemed on a PlayStation 4. That does account for more than 9 million people, though believe it or not, despite how hard it is to get the new consoles these days. If you already have an Apple TV subscription account, you can still cash in on the deal. Activating it will pause payments for your Apple TV subscription for 6 months, meaning that you don't have to miss out if you couldn't wait to watch Ted Lasso like the rest of us. The offer can be redeemed in 61 countries, including the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. To redeem the offer, you will need to find and download the Apple TV app on your PlayStation 5. Once it has downloaded and launched, sign in using your Apple ID or create one if you don't have one already. That's it. You're all done. And the deal is available now. The only thing to bear in mind is not cancelling the subscription after 6 months will mean that you are automatically charged for number 7 and additional months that you will remain signed up from there on in. I know it says the Next Gen Base says the service is called Apple TV Plus. Why? Is there already an Apple TV? Have I missed that completely? It just feels like they've stuck a plus on the end to be a bit edgy. Anyway. Yeah, that's me taking a big old swig again. Apple TV is the device. Got you. You learn something. I'm not an Apple guy, so all of this is mumbo jumbo to me. I have no idea. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Ted Lasso Season 2 starts today. It was out at 8 a.m. If you have not watched Ted Lasso and you are massively into football, I mean, football is a subsidiary of this, Ted Lasso. It's all about... I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's a very, very, very good comedy drama. If you haven't watched it and you have a PlayStation 5, this will cost you nothing. Just open your PlayStation 5, download Apple TV Plus. See, I put the plus in there for you. And get this watched. Season 1 is only 10 episodes, hour-long ones. You'll knock them out in no time. Season 2 starts today. It's going to be 1 episode a week on Fridays at 8 a.m. in the UK. Oh, God, that's a lot. But this is fantastic. Like, I don't have Apple TV. I have other sources to be able to watch Ted Lasso, which I am super stoked. I mean, chances I'm going to be watching this within the next 2 hours. The season 2, episode 1. So I'm super stoked to be able to do that. Get this, please. If you have a slight interest in football, watch it. It's fantastic, but this is a stupid deal. The best thing about this deal is if you already own Apple TV and you already pay Apple TV Plus. If you already own it, they're going to freeze it for 6 months. Like, this isn't a sponsor. This is just me saying this is a fucking good deal. Go and try it, because Mythic Quest is something that the Next Gen Base has just put in there as well. I haven't watched that yet. It's on my It's on my list of things to watch, so we'll give that a go. But Ted Lasso is probably one of the best things I've watched in such a long time. But yeah, definitely give it a go if you haven't already. Just going to run through. Is there anything that I haven't seen? Sounds like a nice deal, says Madge. Apple TV's a device. Fucking love Ted Lasso. Hope that Keith Hazel is in it, mind. And then Madge posts winky face. Okay, so last news article of the day. You know what we like to do. We like to give you free stuff. Free stuff is amazing. And if I can give you any advice, is to have the Epic Game Store installed on your PC, regardless of whether or not you can run the games, because eventually you will probably get a PC that can, and then you'll have a stacked library full of free games. And by the way, this is not a paid segment. It's just something that we like to give you in advance because everyone loves free shit. And what's better than free games? Absolutely nothing. So again, on VGC, written by Tom Ivan, Epic Games Store's next 3 titles have been announced. Mother Gunship and Train Sim World 2 will replace Defense Grid, The Awakening, and Verdun. Next week's Epic free games titles have been confirmed. Mother Gunship, I mean, we've just read this, but anyway, will be free to download from July 29th to August 5th. They replace tower defense game Defense Grid, The Awakening, and World War I first-person shooter Verdun, which costs $7.99 and $15.49 respectively. But we are currently free to download until July 29th. What's this one? Mother Gunship is. I mean, but everyone used to judge by a book by its cover when it comes to video games. That thumbnail for me didn't do much, but we'll run the trailer in the background. I mean, this has just got a hell of a lot better. Oh my god, this is chaos. The Epic Games Store also launched its summer sale this Thursday, running until August 5th. The promotion includes saving up to 75% on selected titles. Epic claimed in January that, I mean, this is stuff that we go through every single week, so we don't need to go through that. But there is 2 free games going to be arriving and replacing 2 free games this week. So you have until July 29th to redeem 2 games. 2 more games, which includes the trailer that I'm showing, will be available from July 29th. It does look okay. I mean, Train Sim World 2. Is anybody interested in this? Madge says Defense Grid Awakening is one of my favourite games on the PlayStation. Best tower defense game ever. Bold words from Madge over there, claiming that Defense Grid Awakening is one of the best. It's the best tower defense games ever. This graphically looks insane. I don't know how much don't know how much use I'm going to get out of Train Sim 2. Don't have that much interest in trains. Can you go into Manchester Piccadilly? I mean, Piccadilly Circus is there, so can I get a virtual train from my house into Manchester Piccadilly? I don't know. It does seem like a lot, but if you are into sim games, definitely worth probably trying. Yeah, it's just Train Sim, but it's free. It's free, so what more can you ask for? So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the scoop for the day. It's just over 45 minutes, including the intro and stuff like that. Ad says, great game, Glasgow DLC looks fun. Madge says, yes, Train Sim 2, Share played this with ads last night. Fantastic. Hey, you know what I mean? Shagger's in the chat. Always doing co-op shit. You got to love it. But yeah, this is probably about 45 minutes. It is a dollop episode. Obviously, when there isn't 2 of us here, we can't have the back and forth. And you don't want to listen to some Mancunian talk for 45 minutes straight, which you have done today, so thank you very much that's joined us so far. But we will be going live again on Monday with some more Scoop News. I don't know whether or not I'm going to go live again this afternoon. I'm going to get some dinner first and then may jump back on again. I would like to play New World. I need to finish downloading it because for some reason there was another download that I needed to do. I don't know whether or not it's a patched update. I don't know. But my PlayStation 5 is downstairs, so I have to bring that back up again because it's been so warm in this room. I didn't want a game, so I had to take my PlayStation downstairs into the front room and play some Assassin's Creed. I don't know. We'll work it out, but the best way to find out is to find us on social media. It's at Ice Cream Uploads across all major social media platforms. If you do want to help shape our show as well, though, you can get involved with our Discord. If you are watching this on any of our on-demand services, hit us in the description below. All the links that you require to find us will be there. All we need from you is a URL plus your thoughts and impressions. We will then give you our thoughts and impressions, including Graham, over on Monday at 10 a.m.-ish. So that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen, so far. Again, I'm going to go and get some dinner because I haven't had any breakfast yet this morning. We may go live this afternoon. I'm not too sure with what or when or with who. So, yeah, I will let you know. Just keep an eye on our socials. We'll let you know over on there. But, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to do this for you again today. Do join us for Monday with this weekend, our next 5-day title charge. With episodes of The Scoop. But until then, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. There's always 2 things that I want you to do. First of all, I want you to look after yourselves. And second of all, stay frosty.